Hello there, this is DBT, and these are the rooms. And alright, today we're going to be talking about the game, what is happening around the game, and more importantly, or what I consider more important, to talk about some of the issues within the game. Now, this is like the third time that I'm trying to record this video because the previous two, these videos came out being a bit too ranty, a bit too lacking focus, I would say. And that's why I decided this time to make it a bit more organized and talk about specific topics that overall, they are smaller parts of a big overarching problem in the game. You can have an idea because of the thumbnail or the title of this video, but still, I want to break it down into small pieces. And in fact, you're gonna notice that there's timestamps for all of this. If you want to jump into any particular topic, go ahead and go into those timestamps. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to be talking about what I consider could be solutions, and if not solutions, just alternative ways of doing things that maybe, just maybe, could help to alleviate some of these problems. But alright, let's start talking about the very first thing, which is the current car hunt. That's right, a new car hunt has begun, and that is for the Musler Land Shark. And, well, I'm gonna say, well, you can see that I already have some missions done, but that doesn't matter. I'm gonna say the Musler Land Shark is actually a very cool car in terms of looks, at least for me, because you know that I like a lot the racing looking cars with the big arrow, big wing, and all of that. So this looks absolutely fantastic. And on top of that, this is a car that is considerably rare, at least for the time that I've been playing this game, 3 years or however long it's been. This car, it's normally, or has been normally, a token car, costing you 20,000 tokens to get. So obviously that is prohibitive for a lot of people, but now no worry because it's in a car hunt. So of course, if you go premium, like in a lot of car hunts, or most of, if not all of the car hunts, you can get the car right away. But no worries, because you can get it for free. I'm kidding, you can't. And that is the first problem that I want to talk about. That's right, you can no longer get this car, you can no longer get the main car of the car hunt for free. When this patch dropped, update, what are we, 65, I think we're in update 65. When this update dropped, Gameloft in the patch notes announced that they were changing the system of the car hunts. Now, at first when I read the patch notes, I thought that it was going to be only visual, like, oh, it's going to look a little bit fancier or whatever. But no, it turns out that they also changed how the car hunt worked in, you know, making it have, instead of 50 levels, now they only have 25. And I did say that it looks a lot more now like what it used to be, festivals, because in case you don't know, before car hunts were car hunts, they were called festivals, and they were very similar but slightly different. So once they did this rework to car hunts in this patch, these car hunts became very similar to festivals. And the bright side of that is that they made the car, the main car that was premium, also available in the free lane, so long as you played for and did all of the quests and claim all your daily coins and all of that, and you would get the car in tier 15. Now, I don't believe that this was a 100% guaranteed car for you to get, because of course there's also some RNG element to it as to how many coins you get per pack and all of that nonsense. So still, a lot of people were able to get the cars, and I thought that that was a fantastic thing, because the very first car hunt that we got once it was reworked was the Racer Tachyon, and holy moly, that was a fantastic car hunt, because the Racer Tachyon is a Class S car of a rank of 1861, so it's towards the higher side of the Class S. And same situation, right? You could get it over here for free, and otherwise, if you weren't a premium player, you could get it for free so long as you reach tier 15 by doing all the grinding on the quests and all of that. And by the way, I still say that so long as the car is available for free, I don't mind doing the quest, because at the end of the day, it would be a free car. So what's not to like about getting a free car? So, but on top of that, that particular car hunt had the extra thing where over here in tier 2 or level 2 or whatever you want to call this, you would be able to get in the premium lane exclusively, a 50% discount for the upgrades of the main car, meaning that once you went premium, you would get the car, and on top of that, once you get over here, you acquired that discount coupon, and from there onwards, upgrading this car would cost only 50% as in fusion coins, as it would be the normal case. So a Class S car takes 10 million fusion coins to fully upgrade. Well, with that discount, it would be 5 million only. Now, it's still a lot, but it's half, so it's obviously considerably easier to do. So that was a really good thing. And then on top of that, there was also a bunch of other cars that you could acquire simply by, in the premium lane exclusively, simply by continuing to play, and there were additional cars. Now, there were cars up to level 25, and that was basically impossible to acquire. because tier 25 it's very tough to get there, so let's ignore that. But in other tiers you could still get a bunch of cars, and in fact that particular car hunt was so appealing that I did go premium for it, in spite of the fact that I already had the car, because I did want to get one of the premium cars that I did not own, and on top of that get the discount to upgrade the main car. So that's how that car hunt was, and I thought that it was fantastic. In fact, I made a point to talk about how we as a community, as the players, talk a lot about the bad things that Gameloft does, but we don't talk about the good things that they do. And I said that we need to bring it up a bit more to tell Gameloft like, hey, we actually like this change that you made, keep it going. And you know, I think it's a good balance between what the free-to-play people got and what the premium players got. So everybody was happy, or so I wanted to believe. But then there was the second car hunt, which was for the Renault RS01, another Class S car. That was the same situation. You could get it at tier 1 or you could get it at tier 15 by, again, grinding, doing all the quests and whatnot. But the main difference in that car hunt is that you could no longer get the 50% discount, and I called it right away, and I said, Gameloft, you should keep the discount, because that was the what got me into getting the previous pass, or rather the previous premium in the car hunt. Even though I already owned the car, the discount was a big deal. And to be fair, for the Renault RS01, I wouldn't have bought it because that car I already have at Pro. But my point is that having the discount as part of the premium rewards was a fantastic idea that I don't know why they ditched after the very first car hunt after the rework. Then there was the car hunt for the Vector, which was a bit weird because at that point they had pretty much removed all of the additional premium cars. Well, I think there was another one, but at tier 25 it was basically impossible to acquire. And then on top of that, even though you could get the car for free at tier 15, a lot of people, or at least certain amount of people, a higher maybe amount of people, were not able to get here. And it's not clear if it's because they changed the amount of coins that you needed, or maybe they changed the formula of the drops of coin in the packs. I don't know, but more people were reporting that they were not able to get the car. So that was already a little bit icky, but I'm like, okay, well, let's see how it goes. Then after that, we got another car hunt, this time for the Chrysler ME412, which is a car that is not rare. That is a car that you can buy right now, that the car hunt is over, by the way, that you can buy that car for credit. So it's not a rare car, and yet, well, it got its car hunt. So you could get the car for free at tier 15, so long as, same situation, right? You did all the quests, whatnot, blah, 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 blah. And in the premium, you could get the car and basically nothing else. Yeah, obviously a bunch of parts and whatnot, but no discounts, no additional cars, no nothing. And that's when things really started to smell a little bit fishy for me. And then we got to the current car hunt, in which, well, forget about getting any additional car in the premium lane. There's no such thing. You can get the car here, but you don't get discounts. Again, no additional cars. And then for the free-to-play players, well, guess what? You cannot get the car for free, the main car for free. Again, here in tier 14, you can get a car, but that's not the main car. And this is where I think it's very clear that as time goes on, the rewards that we're getting, be it as a free-to-play player or as a pay-to-win player, are being reduced. And I think that it's a terrible, terrible precedent, or a trend, I would say. It's what I call the decline of rewards over time, and we're going to talk about that. But how about I go into some multiplayer so that you see something a bit more interesting on the screen, because trust me, there's still a lot more to talk about. So let me go into Classic Season, and just to explore a little bit, how about I try to go into some races in the 1590 bracket, because I have a bunch of cars over there, like this beautiful, beautiful Gallardo, and you know, why not drive in something else that is in Class S? That's called foreshadowing. Okay, boosters active, let's jump into it. So, the decline of rewards over time. And for this particular topic, I want to talk, bring a different, I already talked about the car hunts, but I want to bring something else, specifically the seasons versus racing pass, the difference between the two. Now, you know that right now there's such thing as a racing pass. I already made some videos on the racing pass, the rewards that you get and whatnot. If you haven't seen them, link should be appearing in the top right, but I don't know, maybe I'll forget to put it, whatever. The point is, right now we have this thing called the Racing Pass, but before they were called Racing Pass, they were called Seasons. And much like the situation with these car hunts where they were fantastic at the start and they kept on declining, the Seasons were the same thing. When the Seasons were introduced in this game, it was well over a year ago with the Neon Season, and holy moly, that was an amazing season. If you were a free-to-play player, you couldn't get a lot of things, but at the end of, or at the highest reward for the season as a free-to-play player would be 100 storage slots, if I remember correctly, which is pretty nice considering that they sell you normally that for $5, but over here you could get it for free. So that's pretty decent, I think. But for the premium players, holy moly, the rewards were absolutely insane. Not only could you get the, what's it called, the DeLorean Neon Edition or whatever, there were also a bunch of other cars that you could get. If I remember correctly, it was like the Acura NSX GT3 Evo, the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo, and some other car, one or two more cars. But not only that, they would give a ton of parts for you to upgrade those cars and discount coupons to upgrade those cars. So it was fantastic because that is actually how I upgraded some of those cars, because I was like, holy moly, not only I can get the car, not only are they giving me the kits to upgrade the cars, they're also giving me a coupon. Holy, of course I'm gonna do it. And yeah, I got the premium and I got a bunch of rewards. It was fantastic. And on top of that, I think it was 2 ultimate upgrades back then. All of that for about $10 to $15. I don't remember exactly the price, but it was somewhere over there. And someone else already quit, and now there's only 3 people in this race. Cool. So it was absolutely fantastic. But as time went on, the next season, I don't remember what it was, but it was the next season, well, the rewards weren't as good because you could still get some cars and whatnot, but if I remember correctly, they removed, similarly to the Carhunts, they removed the coupons. And they started, and as seasons went on, they started taking stuff away from the rewards. Suddenly you couldn't get as many cars, suddenly they weren't given as many parts, suddenly it went from 2 ultimate upgrades to 1 direct upgrade to eventually no direct upgrades, and that's how things really started going downhill when it came to the seasons. Now, again, the seasons, it's an old concept, given that now has been replaced by the Racing Pass, but in fact, I think they renamed it to Racing Pass because they couldn't keep up that, what would I say, that pace that they were doing with giving rewards on this, rewards on that, and oh, you get this many cars, you get all of this and whatnot. Like I said, the rewards were decreasing to a point. They were decreased to such a low point that it got renamed to Racing Pass, and they were like, forget about a theme. We no longer have a theme in these things. Now you can only get parts. No cars, no ultimate upgrades, no nothing. Just parts. And they still wanted you to pay $10 for that. And I thought that was terrible. Now, it's good to see that over time, they have improved these racing passes a little bit. Again, credit where credit is due. Compared to how the racing passes were at the start of the Racing Pass renaming, to what it is now, where you can still get 1 or 2 cars and, you know, a decent amount of parts and whatnot. It indeed has improved a little bit. But, again, only a little bit. It's nothing compared to what it used to be originally. So, again, it's clear how when Gameloft introduces a new feature and it's really giving, meaning that they're giving a lot or selling a lot, because let's be fair, I'm talking about premium rewards. They were giving a lot for the premium price that you paid, let's say like that. Eventually, Gameloft ends up being like, okay, you know what, maybe that's too much, we're gonna start decreasing stuff, and over time, yeah, all of those rewards start going down, and, well, it is, whoa! Okay. I had never experienced this before, but okay, thank you, game. Alright, can you let me out of here? Ah, Jesus Christ. Excuse me, I'm still sick, so I'm still gonna be coughing, and this just made me laugh. But alright. Now, this brings me to yet another topic, which is the free-to-play versus pay-to-win debate. Because right now, I was just talking about the premium rewards, and probably the free-to-play players were like, DBT, what are you talking about? I have no idea of any of that because I never got premium. I don't live in that little weird bubble that you live in with the premium rewards. And that's fair enough. I can understand that not everybody identifies with the pay-to-win situation, but even the free-to-play situation, or... I hate saying the word situation so much. But anyway, the free-to-play case, it's still being affected by this. Now, first thing that I'm gonna say, people complain that this game, it's pay to win. Well, what I can say about that is, well, how is that a surprise? This is a free-to-play mobile game. What did you expect from it? And I'm not trying to be a rear bumper about it, but it's the truth. It's a game that it's available for a ton of people to play for free, so of course it has to be monetized. Of course, Gameloft needs to be looking for ways of making money off of this game that is so popular that a bunch of people are playing and they love to play and whatnot. So Gameloft needs to be like, hey, how do I make money off of people? Because Remember, this game is a business. This is how this functions. It's not a charity, it's a business. They need to pay all the workers, they need to pay for the servers, they need to pay for whatever they have to pay. And whether or not they're making enough money to pay it, which probably they are, but still, hear me out. They just need to look for ways or avenues of making money in the game. So that makes sense. I think that shouldn't be a problem for anybody. Now, you might be thinking, well, yeah, but the way that they go about it is so incredibly pay to win. People, have you played Asphalt 9? It's horrendous. It's way worse than this. So that's why when people say Asphalt 9 is so much better, like, are you sure about that? But anyway, so yes, I understand that there's some complaint in that sense, but you need to understand again that this is a business. Now, talking specifically about the monetization, this is what I was saying, that I understand that Gameloft over time has realized that they have maybe been a little bit too given in some of the things that they've been doing. Like I said, the first season, the Neon season, was insane. For $10, I got such a crazy amount of things that I was like, oh my god, how could I say no? I made videos about it because it was insane. Even though the patch came out with some bugs and whatnot, but in and of itself, the premium was completely worth it. Oh Jesus. Oh, finally, I got 5 people in a race. That's a new record for this bracket. Holy moly. But anyway. So yeah, I can see how Gameloft, at the end of the day, they're, oh, come on, dude. At the end of the day, they're like, yeah, maybe we're giving too much. Maybe this price that we're asking for the rewards we're giving is not a good business. So I can see how they have to reduce things. But my problem with this is that I feel like they're going a bit too far. I'm not asking for, hey, give me 2 ultimate upgrades for $10 or what. Oh, sorry, buddy. But things like that. But now that it's also affecting the free-to-play players and the pay-to-win players on how they're remonetizing things is where I'm like, I don't understand how they're doing this or why they're doing this. So, how about we talk a little bit about the special events? Okay, let me just get to... I don't know how I won. I feel like people were slowing down. Were they taking selfies? Maybe they're taking selfies. Maybe that's why I won this race. It just feels weird to have won it. But anyway. So, special events, and by the way, I changed to my Diablo because, well, it's a Diablo. How couldn't I? Special events are one of those newer features in the game, and I respect the effort of doing that because it's a whole new system. Granted, it's a little bit borrowed from the concept of Asphalt 9, but hey, if it works, it works. Now, the problem that I have with special events is, and again, this comes back to the main topic or the overarching topic that I wanted to talk about, is the extreme focus on Class S. Because at the end of the day, that is my main complaint over here. The focus, the incredible focus on Class S. And wow, I'm not finding anybody to play with. So how about I do something else in the meantime? Now, if you know my channel, then you know that this is not a DBT video without some sort of spreadsheet coming up at some point. So, over here, I have the information as the last 4 patches and the cars that have been added in them. We got the Lamborghini Diablo in Class S, the Hurricane Sterrato in Class S, Reventon Roadster Class S, Hurricane Evo Spatter in Class S. Then for update 63, we got the Koenigsegg CC850 Class S, Faraday Future, the SUV in Class B, Brabham BT62 in Class S, Camaro ZL 150th Edition in Class B, Dodge Dart X in X Edition in Class A. Then for update 64, we got the Solus, the Artura, and GT, all of them in Class S. And for update 65, we got the Frangivento Sorpasso, the car that is coming up, I think next week in Treasure Rush, Class S, the Maserati MC20 in Class S, and the DSE10's, misspelled by the way, Terns, the DSE10's Performance in Class A. Now, you might be able to say, well, DBT, hold on, you said that there was a lot of focus on Class S, but I see Class A and B and all of that. Yes. But when you see things like this, information like this, it's not super easy to figure out, well, just how many Class S or Class A or Class B cars out there. So of course, I had to do a pie chart, and I think it doesn't get any more clear than this. You can see that Class B, there's only 13% of the new cars that have been added, 13% of them are Class B, 20% are Class A, and the rest, 66.7%, meaning literally 2/3 of all of the cars that have been added are Class S. Now, let's be completely fair. Some of these cars have no business being Class S. Like, I am a Lamborghini fanboy, that's known. But the Huracan, both Huracans being V10s, they don't belong in Class S. No Huracan should be a better, faster car than an SVJ or an SV or a Cyan or a Countach. Why are these in Class S? I don't know. And the Reventon Roadster, it's a car from like 2007. Yeah, it's a V12, but it's like a Murcielago. The Murcielago was placed in Class B. Why isn't this in Class B? All of these cars were put in Class S, in my opinion. Again, this is not like I have confirmation by Gameloft or anything, but all of these cars were placed in Class S so that they're more appealing, because Gameloft has noticed that over time, people are more interested in getting things that are Class S. And I'm gonna talk about this strange cycle, this vicious cycle about Class S in a second. But yeah, you can tell already, the Connect said Class S, and granted over here we got a B and B because this one was the, what's it called, the racing pass car. This one was for a special event, which is kind of curious that was Class B. This one did surprise me a little bit. But over here, the Solus Artura. Solus I can understand in Class S, but Artura and GT in Class S? These cars are not the high tier performance McLaren in their lineup, so why are they Class S? I don't know, and this is exactly my point, that this doesn't feel right at all. So if you've been following these topics that I've been talking about, we have that in the Carhunts. There was a pretty decent focus on Class S from 5 Carhunts that I talked about: Racer Tachyon, Renault RS01, Victor, Chrysler ME412, and Musler. 3 of those 5 have been Class S. Now, let's talk about where else is a lot of focus in Class S, and that is the Series Store. Now, the Series Store, I'm specifically talking about the multiplayer and Gauntlet Store. Now, in here you can buy parts for the cars and whatnot, and I wish that they would already change this where you can only get one part of this. I don't understand why you can only buy one part. This makes no sense to me, but anyway. Over here you can buy cars for the currencies of Gauntlet and the currency for multiplayer. Now, the thing is, what class are the cars that are being sold? The only cars that are being sold in both stores. What class is it? That's right, it's Class S. So you can get cars, but only of Class S. No. Before you get angry and go like, DBT, are you saying that they should get rid of them? No. Hear me out. We're gonna talk about that later. But I'm just pointing out that, again, a way for you to purchase cars in this game through the regular grind. What is the objective? What is the main focus? Class S. Oh, but it's not only that. You want another example of where Class S has a big role? Do you remember those TLEs on the weekend where you get to play with a bunch of free try cars? And you know, I think it's just a straight up race. Yes. What class is that? All of the free try? Class S. That's right, TLE focus on Class S. And actually the Showdown, I think there's still a bunch of Showdown events that are still in Class S, though the latest ones that I can remember have been on Class A. But for a while, Showdown events, the TLE, specifically the TLEs, have been also of Class S. You see where I'm going with this? But of course, all of that it's what I could say small parts or small issues compared to the main topic, or rather the main part that is affected by this Class S focus. And of course I'm talking about multiplayer. So let me try it again to find a race in Class A, because this is exactly the problem that I wanted to show. Well, I did get some players, which is fortunate. But you saw, for example, when I was playing in the 1590 bracket, I did find some races, fortunately. And I say fortunately because in the previous attempts of recording this video that I did some hours earlier from the moment that I'm recording this, I could not find races in 1590 at all. At least this time I did find some races, but unsurprisingly with few players. That's why I made a point to say that you saw how it was 4 players and the most players that I got was 5 players. Right now, fortunately, I did find some people to play with, but again, we got a lobby of like 4 to 5 people, not a ton of people over here. And that is precisely the point that I'm trying to make. Classic Season, I'm talking specifically about Classic Season. In theory, it is not uniquely focused on Class S. In fact, the design of this multiplayer season, it's made currently so that there's focus on just about any class of cars. It makes sense, right? Because when you're starting this multiplayer season, you're playing with Class D cars, and then you have to rank up to the next league, and then you get to use Class C cars and so on and so forth with Class B, Class A, all the way to Class S. So that is fantastic, right? Now, the problem that I have with this, and I'm not saying that this is I don't know even. Okay, let me just go on with it. The problem that I have with this is that once you get to Elite, what are people going to be focusing on using? Class S. Of course, they're gonna focus on using Class S cars because, well, it's the fastest car. And look, I understand also that Class S being the most expensive, in theory, most difficult cars to upgrade. You had to work a lot to get all those parts, those wild cards, convert them, all the things that you had to do in order to upgrade the cars. It definitely was a bit of a challenge. So I understand why you want to play with your best car. So I'm not necessarily judging that, oh my god, people only want to drive with the best cars ever. I am, but still, hear me out. My problem with this is by design, this game mode, because of how it works and for how long it lasts, the player base is basically split in two big factions in this game mode. The faction of newbies, and again, I'm not trying to say this in a despective manner, you know, there's always people who are just started playing the game and they don't have anything to play with. So the newbies, where they're gonna be focusing? Well, in Class D, because that's the only cars that they have. And this is another topic that I did mention before, that it's another thing that we have to recognize to Gameloft, the fact that they made it so much more friendly to newbies in having a bunch of cars that you can upgrade for ads and not spend any parts or fusion coins or whatever for Class D. That is absolutely fantastic. I still praise that, but still, a lot of the newbies are gonna be in Class D. Why? Well, because once you start acquiring more cars, once you understand better the general gameplay loop of this game, or how you should upgrade things and whatnot, eventually, yeah, you're probably gonna get a few cars from the other classes, and eventually you're gonna get to Class S, and what are you gonna focus on? Class S. And that is the other faction that the player base is split. So one faction, it's at the very beginning of this multiplayer season, and the other faction is towards, or rather at the very end, meaning most players are in either one of those two, not a lot of people in between. Now fortunately, I am finding some races in this bracket, but then again, 6 people only, but hey, you know, any amount of players is still a good amount of players, I suppose. And let the record show that I'm trying to pause to not cough so much in the video, but hey, still, I'm trying, okay? So anyway, we have then all the newbies in Class D, and we have all the pros, and not necessarily pros, but experienced people enough that they have managed to upgrade cars, and they're gonna be focusing on Class S. But what about Class C, Class B, and Class A? Well, again, I'm finding some races in Class A, fortunately. But again, when I started playing this game, again, like 3 years ago or something like that, the Class B in general, when you would play around Class B, there were no brackets at the time, but still, there was matchmaking based around your rank. So basically, we'd try to put players of similar ranks together. So when I was playing with Class B cars, and I would, because I had my Veneno, and back in the day, Veneno was Class B when I was playing. When I started playing and I got my Veneno and I upgraded it, there were a ton of people in that. A lot of people, and even when the brackets were implemented, Class B, I did say Class B and Class A were some of the busiest ones other than Class S and Class D. I've always said Class D and Class S are the busiest ones for the reasons I already mentioned. But you could still find a lot of people playing in Class B, you could still find a lot of people playing in Class A brackets. And that was fantastic because, well, maybe the Class C was a bit forgotten, but overall, there were basically players in just about any bracket, and it was fantastic because even if I get to Elite, I personally do like going into other brackets and playing with different cars simply because, well, let's remember that this game has, what, over 380 cars already. How many of those are Class S? Probably 60, 70 cars, something like that. So we're talking that over 300, let's say 300 cars, or vehicles in general, because there's bikes too. 300 cars are not really being used all that much. Well, I suppose I should not count the ones in Class D because of the reasons I mentioned. So put, maybe that's another 100 cars, 120 cars in Class D. I don't know, that's my guess. So all the other cars, those over 180 cars in the rest of the brackets, forgotten. Because Gameloft so far hasn't made it so that people are more interested in playing with those brackets. And this, again, I'm talking specifically about Classic Season. Because if we talk about Gauntlet, that's gonna be if we talk about Master Season, that's a completely different kind of worm. So how about we delve into it? But actually, out of curiosity, before we go into Master Season, how about I go into doing some races in Class S, just to see how long it takes me to find people to play with. Let's bring my, oh, this beauty, the McLaren Solo GT, because I love the look of this car. So let's jump in there and see how long it takes me to find a lobby and see how many players are playing in that. Oh, look at that! right away we get into a lobby that already has 8, 9 players, 10 with me. Wait, no, yeah, 9 players, 10. So right away, we got into a much busier lobby. Is this a surprise? No. This is exactly proving my point. That at this point, well, most people are going to be interested in playing with Class S. Why? Because it's the cars that they have, it's the fastest cars and all of that. So I think it shows, right? It took me considerably longer to find races in the other brackets with much less players, while over here in Class S, we're finding a lot. Now, again, I understand people wanting to play with this. I'm gonna skip this race, so just show you the results, because this topic I already talked about, so yeah, let's do that. Now, let's see if DBT can actually do this spiral section. Very often I mess it up, so let's see if I can do it with this car. I don't think I've tried. I have yet to make a pro test of this particular car, but hey, we'll figure it out. All right, I didn't do it too terrible. Not amazing either, but hey, at least I didn't wreck. That's something. But yeah, so again, just closing my thoughts on Classic Season. Most players are either in Class D or in Class S, and look at this. Right away, I found lobbies, full lobbies, or almost full lobbies, with a lot of people playing over here, because of course, once you have already ranked up from the other leagues, there's absolutely zero reason for anybody that isn't curious just to play with different cars. There's zero reason to go back to other brackets. Like, I'm already in Elite. Why would I play with anything that isn't Class S? So, there it is. I just wanted to show that that's the case. Now, I'm gonna jump into Master Season, because this is another topic where, well, I don't think I need to go too deep into trying to explain how the focus in Class S in here, it's so pervasive. Now, I'm gonna say that I understand why Gameloft added this mode, and I'm gonna give you a tiny bit of context. If you're a relatively new player to the game, maybe you're not aware of how the system used to work. Before, there were brackets in Classic Season, because back in the day we only had Classic Season, or rather, it was just one single type of multiplayer. It wasn't called Classic Season, it was something else, but whatever. The point is that once a season began over there, excuse me, you could play with just about any car of any bracket, again, there weren't brackets, of any rank that you wanted. So, if the season started and all you wanted to do was to drive your Aston Martin Vulcan in Class S, you could, right away, from the get. And I think that's why a lot of people at that point didn't necessarily have a super crazy garage, because from the start you could just bring your best car. Sounds familiar? Now, once they introduced Classic Season and there was this whole thing where you have to climb up the ladder of leagues in order to get to Class S cars, then some people were not particularly happy about that. Oh my god, what do you mean I have to play with Class D? Wait, I gotta play with Class D, and then I have to play with Class C, and then I have to play with, you know, all of that stuff. And people kinda got upset, so Gameloft ended up adding Master Season, in which, much like in the olden days, you could just play with whatever rank that you wanted from the beginning. Now, there's a crucial difference between this and how multiplayer used to be, and that is that this is not, doesn't have any matchmaking, or I guess it does, to a very small degree, but it mostly doesn't really have a matchmaking base around your car rank, meaning you can literally end up finding Class C cars versus Class S. So in a game mode where you can bring whatever car you want at any moment that you want, and you have Class S, why would you bring anything else? So right away, this game mode is another one that it's right away from the get focusing on Class S, or whatever car that you have, whatever is your best car. But for a lot of people, it's gonna be Class S. And just like that, okay, so for example, over here we got Class S, there's me on Class A, Class S, and another Class S, though not fully upgraded, but still, it's a Class S. Again, I tried to remove the coughing, but you know, it continues to happen, it's fine. So, this is another game mode where Class S, it's very prevalent, look at that. Well, actually, this race doesn't have that many. There's one, there's another one over here, there's another one over there. But yeah, a lot of Class S, and very similarly, obviously the people that are going to be ranking up the quickest are going to be those using Class S. So it's in your best interest to get to Elite real quick and get your 500,000 fusion coins and whatnot. It's in your best interest to bring Class S and just rank up as quickly as possible. So, again, it's another game mode, another multiplayer game mode that it's heavily focused on Class S. You see the pattern. Speaking of another multiplayer game mode that is focused on Class S, I'm gonna talk, yes, about Gauntlet. Now, I know, is that multiplayer? Yeah, it's multiplayer. It's a synchronous multiplayer, meaning that you don't play it in real time with other people, but it's player versus player. You're facing against other players' stands, right? So it's multiplayer. Now, that game mode, it's very peculiar in how it works. because the league that you're at really depends on the sum of the rank of all the cars that you have. So if you're a new player, you're gonna have a garage with very low, only with a few cars or very low rank. So you're gonna be placed into a league where you're gonna be playing with other players with low ranked cars, and that kind of makes sense, right? But then the more that you play and you start acquiring better cars, whether you want to use them or not, those cars already are gonna start counting for the total rank of your Gauntlet team. That is to say that, let's say I am a very strange player and managed to create a team of Class C cars of the bracket of 1500 Class C cars. I have that team and it's fantastic, right? Oh, that's great, you have this team, and oh, rip that guy. So that is fantastic. But then for some strange reason, I managed to acquire the Arash AF10. Well, guess what? Whether you want to use that car or not, that car instantly bumps the rank of your entire team. And suddenly when you had this team, well, now this car with a much higher rank makes it so that you're in a completely different league. So in a way, you don't really have control over where you're at in the league, unless you are some really next level planner that really understands how, where, when to upgrade cars and whatnot. And then you're limiting yourself, because if you want to build a team, a competitive team of only Class B cars, then you're never allowed to have better cars, because otherwise it's gonna break it. So long as you've been building your garage and you've been working towards your higher goals of getting better cars, at the end of the day you're gonna be cornered into Class S races. And actually that is why, even though I haven't played it, and I don't think I will continue playing the Asphalt 8 Plus version of the game, I was really interested in playing that a little bit, because with basic cars I was able to look at Gauntlet from a different angle that I haven't seen since I started playing Gauntlet over here, because I already had a good garage. So if I go to play Gauntlet, there's absolutely no reason. You know, I made at some point videos on my Lambo Gauntlet team before there were a ton of cars in Class S for Lambos. And I made Class A team Lambos. But guess what? I cannot use it and explore it, because my total rank or the league that I belong to, because of my garage, not because of the cars that I'm using, but because of my garage, is gonna put me against Class S. So even though I want to bring Class A cars, well, I'm screwed, because now it's only gonna be against Class S. So over time, you're gonna be cornered towards Class S races only. So that's yet another multiplayer mode that is focused on what? Class S. So with me mentioning all of these points that you have seen already, if you've been watching the entirety of the video, I don't know how you've been so patient to watch 37 minutes of a video, but still, we're not done. If you've been watching all of this, the whole talking about the racing pass, the car hunts, the special events, the multiplayer one, meaning Classic Season versus and Master Season and Gauntlet, all of that is me making my point that the game is incredibly focused on Class S cars. And here's where I wanted to get to this point: the vicious cycle of Class S. What is this vicious cycle? Well, it makes sense that when you're a player of any game, you want to get the best that that game has to offer. In a shooter game, it's going to be I want to get the best gun. In a fighting game, I want to unlock the best character with the most OP combos or whatever. In a racing game, you want to get the fastest cars. It makes sense. That's what people want to see, want to drive, want to play with. That makes complete sense. Seeing that, as of late, Gameloft has focused, with all of that I mentioned, has focused a lot on emphasizing Class S cars. Now, the problem lies in that by doing this, by going so hard with the focus on Class S, Gameloft has been cornering themselves in what they can offer and what they can sell in the game. Because there is a car hunt right now for a Class S car, and some people, maybe even I will go premium, because I do want this car, it's a beautiful car. But I'm not gonna get it because it's a Class S, but a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, I could get a Class S car. So yeah, Class S, I'm gonna get that. And otherwise, if it was available for free, oh, I'm gonna get that Class S cars. That's fantastic. And Gameloft is like, oh, look at that, they're interested on Class S. So how about we add a bunch of cars, like a bunch of Lambos that shouldn't belong in Class S, but let's make them all Class S, because people want Class S cars. And then people are like, oh, I got more Class S cars, so I should focus on Class S, and I'm gonna continue using Class S. And then Gameloft is like, okay, we created this new system of car hunts, and you can get cars for free. And well, people like Class S, right? So there you go, free cars in Class S, and people are like, woo, we got free Class S cars. Everybody seems to be happy until Gameloft realizes, wait a second, we cannot continue to give away Class S cars because that's what people want the most. We cannot give it for free. We need to monetize it. So instead, let's make car hunts for something lower, like a Victor in Class A or a Chrysler ME in Class A. Well, guess what? I would imagine that not a lot of people are going to be so interested in spending $10 on that compared to spending $10 and getting a Class S car. Why? Because people have already been conditioned that what they should be looking or striving for, it's Class S. So this is the loop where players want to play with Class S. Gameloft offers Class S. Gameloft decides or figures out that they cannot give Class S for free. People start getting angry because they're no longer getting Class S for free. And Gameloft starts trying to provide something else that is in Class S by doing something else that can give you a free card that is in Class S, but people want Class S. So what does Gameloft do? Well, here you go. Here's more Class S, but you have to pay for it. But people are focused again on Class S. You see how it's a cycle? People want Class S, Gameloft gives Class S, and Gameloft tries something else that is in Class S, but people were already used to getting Class S, so because it's not Class S, they don't want it, and Gameloft is like, oh, if I offer something that is in Class S, they don't get it, or they don't want it, so instead we need to offer Class S, and we got this enormous cycle of all around Class S. No matter where you look, everything is Class S. And I know if you don't agree with the whole point of this video by now, you're probably not even watching this. You're like, this guy's talking nonsense. And I know that it sounds like I'm trying to defeat what I just said a few minutes earlier, saying that, yeah, everyone wants to have the best or use the best. But even in a shooter game, you cannot use the best all the time. Now, that's not me saying that they should add some fuel system or anything like that. God, no. No. What I'm saying is that, in my opinion, Gameloft should introduce new ways of getting people interested in doing things that are not only Class S. That's not me saying that Class S should go away or that, hey, you should never play with Class S anymore. But I think Gameloft needs to introduce something to make it more interesting. And here is where we get to the section that I'm calling the suggested solutions. Now, I presented you a bunch of problems. Now I'm gonna give you what I think could be ways for Gameloft to make it a bit better and incentivizing playing with different things that is not Class S all the time, which would help into making the game a bit better both for free-to-play players and pay-to-win players. Because again, remember, Gameloft is focusing so much on what people want that maybe they're forgetting a little bit of what people need. Now, alright, first topic, car hunts. The solution, it's very simple, and it might be a bit of a controversial one. Stop making every car hunt to be Class S. No more constant Class S car hunts. Now, I'm not saying that they should get rid completely of Class S car hunts. No. But by making it more varied, because again, I already told you that Gameloft is no longer willing to give away so easily Class S cars for free. And because of that, free-to-play players are only getting a Class D car. And they're frustrated because, oh my god, I wanted this car, but I can only get this other car. Well, then don't make it Class S. Don't make car hunts Class S. Make them of Class C, Class B, Class A, and put the car for free. Because Gameloft is more willing to give away cars for free that are in Class S because it's not the best, it's something else. And guess what? That's gonna keep people happy because the free-to-play players are gonna be able to continue getting free cars. So what's not to like about that? It might not be Class S, but that to a free-to-play player, especially beginner players, any free car is a good car. And I'm telling you this by experience because when I started playing this game, festivals were already a thing, and yeah, I did get a couple of Class S cars, but they were not useful for me at the start because I could not use them in multiplayer and whatnot. To me, what really helped was when I started getting Class B and C cars, because those were cars that I didn't have to spend a bunch of credits into getting, or fusion coins into getting, purchasing just to make more progress in the career. Those cars, even though they were stock, they were in the correct class, I could use them in career, and that helps a lot. So that's what I'm saying. To a beginner player, especially free-to-play players, anything that is free, it's a good thing. So make Carhunt to not be all about class S. Make it of different lower classes and give the car for free. Now, that's for the free-to-play players. For the pay-to-win players, how about you Gameloft, bring back what I was saying at the start of this video. Additional things to make pay-to-win players interested in purchasing it. Because again, if let's say that I already own this car, I have absolutely zero interest on getting this premium. But, like I said, which was the case with the Racer Tachyon, I already had the car. But because they were including the discount, oh, guess what? I was suddenly interested. And if it was the case over here that I already owned this car, but here was the discount, I would still go premium to get that discount. And guess what? Maybe that would even attract other people that are kind of in the fence, like, hey, do I go pay to win or not? Well, okay, you can get the car for free, but if you were to pay, if you were to go premium, you can upgrade the car much faster, much cheaper. Here's all the parts to upgrade it. Here's the discount. Go for it. And on top of that, you get 1 or 2 additional cars of different classes. Maybe a Class C, a Class B, whatever. Not necessarily Class S. And suddenly, you're going to have the free-to-play people happy. You're going to have the premium people happy. Now, you want to continue bringing Class S car hunts? Well, all right. Then don't give Class D. Give something worthwhile so that you get the free-to-play people happy. Now, the problem right now with this is that the car hunts are currently tied to special events. Now, right now we don't have a special event, but in general, car hunts are related to cars that are required for special events. And here's again, the problem with the special events is that support cars for special events are incredibly focused on Class S. Oh, for example, let me think. What was a recent event? Okay, I pulled information for the Artura special event. For this event, you needed some Class C, some Class B, some Class B, but there was a Pagani Utopia, which is Class S. Then there was the McLaren Senna, which is Class S. Then there was a McLaren 600 LT, which is Class S. And again, the Artura. So there were a bunch of cars in Class S in just about any special event except the ones for lower brackets that the main car is a lower bracket. It tends to be a lot of Class S focus. So if the special event requires 3 Class S cars, then they're gonna put the car hunt with those Class S cars. That is where the problem lies. In keeping those two things tied, they're making it so that the special event needs a lot of Class S, so we're gonna sell you a lot of Class S, and because of that, we're no longer willing to give Class S for free, so now you can only get it paid. So you see how that ties up and that affects the free-to-play player. So how about in special events, make it so that, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 Class S cars will be required, but a lot of the other support cars are in Class S, and in that way it frees up the car hunts to be for all those other classes that are the support cars, not only Class S. I think that's a way where they could make the special events be a bit more palatable, and at the same time is gonna benefit the car hunts for, again, the free-to-play crowd, because that's another topic that I'll touch at the very end of this video, the free-to-play crowd, and why I'm focusing so much on them. It's not only because I care, but because they actually serve a purpose. But anyway, let's keep going. Now, the next point that I want to talk about on a possible solution, it's in Gauntlet. Like I said, Gauntlet, the entire system of Gauntlet, it's you're locked to whatever it is that you're... Oh yeah, and don't mind people defeating me because I did a horrendous... Look at this, I basically went with a Class A team because again, that is what I'm talking about. That I wanted to bring Class A cars, but guess what? Well, I mean, I did meme it up, so it's a bad lap no matter what. But if I want to bring a Class A team, I can't because of my entire garage, I'm forced to do Class S. How could this change to be a bit more interesting, to vary the classes of cars used? Well, how about you get to select the cars that you want to use or select a specific bracket? Maybe not necessarily based on rank themselves, but say like, okay, I want to do a team of Class A, so all my cars need to be in the 1770 bracket. And there you go. Maybe today I want to do a team of Class whatever, a Class B, and let's do that. Now, I understand that this is gonna split the player base into different sections, but I think that could open the possibility to start playing with other bunch of cars, interesting teams with other brackets, simply for fun. Because I think that is one of the main problems that people have right now when it comes to playing with other brackets, that they don't think they're fun. Because they're used already to only playing with Class S because it's the fastest and all of that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not as fun. I'm gonna play with a Class C car. It's so slow. It's no fun. Like, I mean, all right. But have you tried recently? Now, I do get it. Some people are definitely not super interested in that. And for them, excuse me, they can still go in Class S. I'm not saying take away Class S. No, you can still make your team of Class S and compete against the highest of the highest in Class S. But you see what I'm saying? Having the option of doing it in a different way. And speaking of options, multiplayer in the Gauntlet store. Now, I already mentioned how right now we're locked behind only getting Class S. And for example, this is a fantastic car that you should aim to get because it's really, really good, in spite of the fact that I kind of hate it. But whatever, it's a really good car, so I'm not saying take this away. What I'm saying is, why don't you, Gameloft, provide other options? I don't understand why this is amateur league. I don't know if you can make purchases. I don't understand why this. I don't get it. I don't understand this whole thing. But whatever. How about you don't limit to who can buy anything? No, anybody can buy anything. It doesn't matter. But over here for the quote-unquote amateur league, offer a car of Class D for a decent amount of, or a respectable amount, a fair amount of this currency. Over here, offer a Class C car. Over here, offer a Class B car. Over here, offer a Class A car. Over here, offer your Class S car. And then guess what? You do that through Gauntlet and through the World Series, and then suddenly the amount of cars that are available to purchase, even though I understand that Gameloft wants to hide a lot of cars so that you cannot buy it for fusion coins and whatnot. I understand why they brought this entire system. But why don't you open it up so that people can get cars from different brackets? Wouldn't that be interesting? Because then suddenly in the Gauntlet store, let's say, oh, maybe I want the, I don't know, what's a high Class C car? Let me think. Okay, for example, the MP48, the F1 car of Class C. Maybe make that in the Gauntlet store because it's at the end of the bracket, and make it so that you can purchase it with this currency over here. And same situation over here for Class B. Granted, it would be a bit difficult to decide if is it going to be 1590 or 1680, but maybe that could go changing from week to week. And over here, they're going to offer something like, I don't know, whatever it's a end of bracket Class B car, like the Aventador, for example, the Aventador LP700. In that way, you're gonna offer a lot of different cars that maybe they're not easily acquirable in regular ways, meaning buying it straight up in the garage, but over here you're gonna have an opportunity to get it so long as you wait for long enough and you have the currency. And over here in the World Series store, just like you Gameloft already do with cars of, in this case, Class S, but in the lower side of that particular bracket, then do the same thing in Class, well, over here it's not, it doesn't have the different sections, but also add sections. And then in the section for Class A, sell, I don't know, Lamborghini Diablo. It's a rare car of the no, actually that's end of bracket. I don't know, something else that is not end of bracket, but I think you know what I'm talking about, Gameloft. And for the viewers that are not Gameloft, well, basically just add not OP cars in the World Series stores as it is right now, but also add them for different brackets. And in the Gauntlet store, add the better ones for this currency that is way harder to acquire. In that way, you're gonna incentivize getting cars for different brackets. And again, maybe even if you do allow custom teams in Gauntlet, well, guess what? People have a lot of options now how to get cars and of different brackets, cars that are rare, that are not easy to acquire. And again, just to be extremely clear, I'm not saying to get rid of the Class S ones, just add options, add on top of this, do not get rid of stuff. And finally, the biggest topic, where I do want to offer some options or possibility of what could work, maybe, it's multiplayer. First of all, Classic Season. Again, I understand that the league system was made so that people would play with different brackets. But at this point in time, again, as soon as you get to Elite, you have no reason to go. How about you add some additional... Wait, is it here? No, this is not the right button. How about an addition of these objectives? You also add some objectives where... And by the way, better objectives, or rather better rewards with cars of different... Because... Alright, let me reorganize this thought. You can already get some rewards, but honestly, who is gonna want to do 70 races with Class C just to get 2 of this? Or 70 races with Class B would get 2 of this? Make it more enticing, make it so that people are more interested in doing it. Maybe, how about, instead of this, you make it a direct upgrade. Instead of 70, make it, maybe 70 is fine. For a direct upgrade, maybe make it so that it multiplies. You do 70 races, you can get one direct upgrade of this. Maybe you do 100 and whatever, you can get a second one, up to 3 maybe. I don't know, something like that. Make it more appealing so that people are more interested in playing. Because let me tell you, even if I need this, I would rather go into the ad roulette and hope to get those things or just buy them from the store than to play 70 races if I'm really not interested in playing with Class A. It makes no sense. These rewards make no sense. Absolutely no sense. In general, I've always thought that these rewards are bad, generally bad. Over here, they're a little bit better because they're much more doable, but all of this, in my opinion, they're bad. Make it more enticing and make people more interested in playing with different brackets. How about you unlock it throughout the week? Because otherwise, maybe at the start of the season, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I need to do 100 races with Class C. I'm gonna do my 100 races right away. Again, I'm maybe exaggerating with the numbers. I'm not saying this is the official number that you should aim for, but whatever. Maybe people are gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna play only with Class C, get that reward and move on to the next bracket and finish that and move on and move on. If you want people to come back, then you need to time it. So, okay, well, now the first week pass, a lot of people are probably on Elite, but after that week pass, then open up, okay, now if you do this many races in Class C, you can get your direct upgrade. And guess what? People are gonna be like, oh, I'll do it. I can do some races in Class C for a direct upgrade. Why not? Maybe 1-2 direct upgrades. Again, we're talking about that this happens every 2 weeks. So maybe 2 direct upgrades is really not that much. You're gonna need what? 20, 40 seasons to get 80. So maybe it should be more than 1 or 2 direct upgrades. Maybe a little more. But you see what I'm saying? Bring something that people are gonna be more interested in getting. And in that way, you're gonna get people wanting to play that because the reward is good. And in that way, you're incentivizing people to play with something that isn't only Class S. Now, you can also do Class S direct upgrades. Why not? But, again, the option is there to make it available for all the classes. Now, that's as far as Classic Season, how I envision a way in which Classic Season could be more interesting in making it a bit wider. Now, as far as Master Season, this is going to be controversial. Don't turn the video just yet. Hear me out. Make it so that it's not only about Class S. Change Master Season and play with it. First of all, Master Season to not last 2 weeks. Master Season to last only 1 single week. And every week is gonna be fresh. It's gonna be something different. I appreciate Gameloft experimenting with the ghost and all of that, but again, it was a small experiment and it's already kind of forgotten. We'll see if we get it again, I don't know. But where I'm going with this is make it 1 week. And by the way, I understand that Gameloft doesn't want to give 500,000 for Rich and Elite every week. So instead of that, make it 250,000. So it's exactly the same amount of fusion coins. So you're not getting more or less fusion coins, it's the same. But where I'm going with this is make it, for example, that Master Season this week is gonna have a different rule in which you're gonna be able to play with cars of the bracket of 1590. Now, I know that some people are gonna be like, wait a second, DBT, I don't have a single car in that bracket. So what? I can no longer play it and I don't get my 250,000 because you decided that that's how that should be fun? No. My idea would be the following. Make Gameloft make it so that, yeah, it's 1590 and there's 5 cars that are free tries. Make it, if you will, cars that aren't necessarily the most fantastic cars, but make it so that people that, even if you don't have a car from that bracket, you can still play. And it's exclusively of that bracket. It's not up to that bracket. It's not like you can bring Class D or C. No. Just that specific bracket. If you don't have cars, there's already some free tries. And I do mean like 5 cars. So that, again, there's variety. That's what I'm aiming. Variety. And then people that have cars in that bracket, you can just bring whatever car that you want in that bracket from the cars that you own. And guess what? You do that every week, changing the classes, then you're gonna show to people that there's a lot of more cars, cool cars, to acquire in this game, to play with. That not only everything has to be on Class S. Now, just to close my thoughts in the whole thing regarding why I have this issue with the hyper focus on Class S. This hyper focus on Class S is hurting the game, in my opinion. It's hurting the game. Because again, the player base is divided exclusively on the newbies and the experienced players. Because let's be real. The main attraction of this game is not career. Maybe some people are really focused on Gauntlet, but hey. The main attraction of this game is multiplayer. But when it comes to Classic Season, either you're at the start or you're at the end. Very little in between. When it comes to Master Season, you're either at the start or at the end. You know what I'm talking about? You have bad cars and you're stuck at the start, or you have decent cars and eventually you work your way towards the end. And that's it. Nothing in between. Why do I say that this is hurting the game? Because by having people focus exclusively on classes, it creates this hunger that the only thing in this game that matters is Class S. And again, like I said at the start of the video, I understand that people want the best that the game can offer. But the best is not the only thing the game can offer. If all of the cars looked the same, if all of the cars sounded the same, if everything was the same, only the performance was different, then yeah, sure, go ahead, only the best. But this game has 380 vehicles, a little more than that. And they keep on adding vehicles. But because Gameloft realizes that the only thing people are willing to buy and get is Class S, they continue to add more Class S and creates further hunger for Class S, forgetting that anything else in the entirety of the game exists. And again, I think that's bad. Because it's making that multiplayer more now than ever, it's empty. Not completely empty. I'm not saying that it's a dead game or anything. But again, the variety is just not out there anymore. Now granted, we could have a whole argument regarding the super OP cars that are spammed and whatnot, but that's a different topic. I'm not going to go into that. What I'm just talking about is this focus on classes that is just creating this insane focus on that class alone and nothing else matter. And that is locking Gameloft in what they can offer to only be Class S. Because the moment that they offer anything that isn't Class S, people are not that interested anymore. Except for people that are collecting cars and things like that. But for the general crowd that would be happy with just having a Faraday, which was given for free some time ago, having a Faraday and playing in Class S all day long, because that's the only thing that matters in the game. Go with your Class S, play with Class S, you don't need to worry about anything else ever again. You're made. And then people, guess what? They start complaining, I'm bored of the game because it's all the same. Well, yeah. If you play with one car for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, you're gonna get bored. So, I'm sorry to say that, but all those people that are saying, I'm bored of the game because there's nothing to do, there's a lot to do. You just don't want to do it. I know, again, that this comes off as a little bit confrontational and it's like, DBT, why are you suddenly criticizing the player base? But let's be fair, us, the player base, have a lot of guilt in some of the decisions, some of the decisions that Gameloft makes. That's not to defend Gameloft blindly. We understand that Gameloft also sometimes go completely bonkers, like the entire mess that they did with the prices of the upgrades and all of that stuff. So I'm not saying that Gameloft always does the good thing. They don't. But with the players also, in the way that we act, the way that we don't communicate information, the way that we're hypercritical only of the bad, rarely mentioning what is good, also makes Gameloft think like, well, if I'm gonna continuously be crapped on, at least it should be convenient for us, meaning for Gameloft. So that's why I wanted to talk about this whole thing. And one last thing that I wanted to mention, I said that it was gonna be the last topic in this video, it's why free-to-play people are important. Now, I know that sounds weird, because you're gonna be, if you're a free-to-play player, you're gonna be like, wait a second. Was there ever an implication that we're not important? To a certain extent, yes. Let me elaborate on this. Let me cook. So, this message goes specifically for the pay-to-win crowd. And I'm including myself. Remember, I'm a pay-to-win player, all right? So I'm not trying to say this in a despective way. But a lot of pay-to-win players tend to criticize not a lot, a certain amount of players, pay-to-win players love to criticize free-to-play players. It's like, well, they're broke. What are they there? Why are they there for? Why is DBT making a 1-hour video talking about why the game shouldn't focus on classes? The thing that I paid a bunch of money to get and I have fun playing, even if I later get bored. why is DBT making a video defending why the game should focus less on Class S so that there's more opportunities for other players, for players that are not paying, if they're not providing money to Gameloft? Well, they may not be providing money directly. They're not paying with dollars. A lot of them are paying with ads. Even pay-to-win players like myself pay with ads still, because I watch ads in order to get more currencies. But my point is, they're important financially because of that. Not only that, free-to-play people are the ones that populate the servers. Sounds weird, but it's the truth. And I'm gonna talk in more general terms of mobile games, or in general free-to-play pay-to-win games. The whole thing, right? Generally speaking, you have the quote-unquote whales, and again, I'm not trying to say that in a despective way, because again, I guess you could easily say I'm a whale. I am a whale in this game. But you have the whales who are the ones giving money to the company directly. But what fun would the game be if it's a very small amount of whales? You need a large amount of players playing this game, but not a large amount of players are not going to be paying money. So they're the free-to-play crowd, and they're the ones who are gonna, well, populate the servers. And some of them are fantastically skilled, they're still gonna defeat me even if I'm a pay-to-win player. That's understandable. But my point is that the free-to-play crowd is important because they're the bulk of the player base. They're the one that make the game popular, that keep making videos on or talking about and whatever. And then there's a pay-to-win crowd who just supports the game directly by giving money to the company. Both sides are, it's a symbiosis. Meaning what's the definition of symbiosis? Give me a second. Thank you, Google, I can always trust you. Symbiosis. Interaction between two different organisms living in close physical association, typically to the advantage of both. A mutually beneficial relationship between different people or groups. So, that is my point. It's beneficial that both sides exist because the whales are needed to keep on paying bills directly with actual money. The free-to-play players are needed because they're the ones who populate the servers so that there's people to play with. So that's why I keep on talking as to why keeping the free-to-play player base is so important, why I try to provide some sort of advice. I don't like that word because it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. I am not. All of these are just conjectures. But try to give some ideas to Gameloft as to how they could make the game a bit more interesting to the free-to-play crowd so that they continue staying in the game, thriving in the game eventually, and continue to populate the servers because we need all these people so that the game continues to be alive. Plain and simple. We need the free-to-play crowd to populate servers, we need the pay-to-win crowd to continue giving money directly, and everybody wins. Because if this game stays afloat, we have a game for longer, hopefully for more years, so that we can playing this stuff and whatnot. There's a lot of things in general that Gameloft could implement to try to make it better, but these are my thoughts that have been brewing for a very, very long time, for all the time that I became a pay-to-win player, seeing how it looks from the other side, and seeing how the player base seems to be declining, is that the word? Reducing. So anyway, just wanted to talk about this. I know that this is a ridiculously long video. I wanted it to be a short one, but it was impossible because there's so much to talk about, and I didn't want it to be as ranty as my original attempts. So here we go. I try to give the most fair assessment of the situation and why I think that Class S hyperfocus is bad for the game. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, if you found it somewhat useful, let me know in the comments. I would appreciate the like, I would appreciate the subscribe, but I would really appreciate to read your comments, what you think, not only of the things that I talk. If you have any thoughts on any particular topic that I talked about, that maybe I'm wrong in my way of seeing it, you have a better idea, bring it on in the comments because I would love to see. This is just the ideas of DBT. And I don't know everything, I barely know anything. There's a lot of people that probably have much better ideas that could be implemented even better, so I would love to read them in the comments so that the best ones I can send them to Gameloft and be like, hey, look at this, maybe this could be implemented and it could be a better solution, maybe this could attract more people, maybe this could get more people spending money, more people doing this, more people doing that. So if you have ideas, let me know in the comments. Please be respectful about it, and that's the main thing that I ask, just be respectful about it. keep in mind that this is a business, so not everything. The solution is not give everything for free to everybody, because then the moment that they do that, their business goes bankrupt and the game is over. So that's not a solution. But alright, again, if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, all of that stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and stay safe. Bye bye.